Hello, it's Jon Hodgson here from Handiwork Games. You can find our website at www.handiwork.games. We thought we'd take the opportunity to give you a little bit of a rundown of what we've got coming up in 2021 and a little bit of company background if we are a new company to you. So, who are we at Handiwork Games? We are based in Scotland. I'm John. I own the company. We also have working with us, we have our lead artist, Scott Purdy, who has worked extensively in the role-playing game industry for years and years and years. We also have Paul Bourne, who is our graphic designer and layout artist. Incredibly talented chap. You might know his work from games like the One Ring First Edition. And he's worked on all kinds of stuff as Paul. I think he's one of the best graphic designers and layout artists in the country, actually. I think for role-playing games, he's right up there. Really great work. We have Danny Ware, who joined us at the end of last year, and Danny helps us with sales and marketing. We have kind of slightly more extended family, but people who we work with constantly all the time. Jacob Rogers is, I don't know what you would call Jacob in terms of his job title. He is a writer and designer with us. He is our 5e expert, and we have a host of other friends who we work with on a semi-regular basis. So our next big release is going to be Beowulf Age of Heroes for 5th edition. That's coming out in a matter of weeks now. It's printing right now. The PDF is out. And now this brings duet play to 5th edition. So 1 GM and 1 player. We've added a whole bunch of stuff to 5th edition to make it really sing for just those 2 players, 1 GM, 1 player. And the whole setting is based in the kind of mythic ancestor world of Beowulf, the Anglo-Saxon poem. And in the game, you take the role of a hero. We have the new hero class, which has 6 subclasses, each one based around an attribute score, which is sort of, I find that pleasingly old school. But each kind of hero, there's lots of different kinds of hero that you can play. And every hero is setting sail on the Whale Road in search of monsters and slaying them. Now, we really wanted this to be a game, a 5th edition game that you can pick up very quickly, hence the duet play. You don't have to find a whole gaming group and figure out when you're all available and so on. You just phone a friend, arrange a time, and you can have a game. We found it slots in really beautifully around other campaigns, and interestingly, we're seeing gaming groups. The Games Master is playing the same adventure with every one of their 4 or 5 players and getting this enormous replay value out of the scenarios that we've got out there just now. Now, speaking of scenarios we've got out there just now, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, a sort of Dark Ages, for want of a better word, iteration of 5th edition, then go and grab The Hermit Sanctuary, which is a free, full-length adventure. It gives you all the extra rules you'll need to play it in Beowulf Age of Heroes. It's on drive-through now. You can grab it totally free. You can get it in print as well if you really like it as a POD book. We were asked to make that available, so we did. So that's out there now. But the print book, 272 pages of Beowulf Age of Heroes, full colour, tons of beautiful artwork, the full rules, everything you'll need. That will be out in print, hopefully. We're probably looking at Q2 of 2021, so not very long to wait at all. So something else we did with Beowulf was make a ton of really beautiful accessories, and forgive me because I'm really excited about all this stuff, so I'm going to show it off just now. those from our friends at Campaign Coins. Inspiration tokens. You get 5 of those in a set. They are absolutely lovely. They're 39mm across, so they're poker chip sized, and they weigh a ton. They're really nice. Beautiful, beautiful tokens. We have got a set of miniatures. Again, available for pre-order now, but these are absolutely beautiful, sculpted by a very good friend of mine, Richard Dickens. And these are, if you've played the Hermit Sanctuary, you might recognise the pre-generated characters and the monster from that scenario. And they're metal miniatures. How nice is that? 28mm metal miniatures. They will be out in a matter of weeks. We do all sorts of kind of cool stuff. It's probably worth, rather than me just running through at great length the catalogue of Beowulf accessories, it's probably worth heading to our website at Handiwork.Games and having a good old look through. So, as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about Beowulf. Beowulf was the first big project we set out to do as a company, and it turned out to be much more involved than we had planned. Actually, we thought in about, 6 months we could pull together some sort of early medieval Dark Ages mods for 5e and get it out there. If you know my artwork at all, you'll know that I'm very influenced by kind of historicals and early medieval historicals. I spent years and years working for Warhammer Historical as their main illustrator. I also am probably best known for my illustration and art direction work on the One Ring role-playing game, which of course has been in the news recently because the second edition has done phenomenally well on Kickstarter. I'm so pleased for Francesco and the team and the new licensees at Free League. Fantastic stuff. But I did, on the first edition of the game, I did a huge body of work on that. So how did I get to, what was I talking about there? I do this all the time. It's remarkable. I was talking about the artwork in sort of Beowulf and where Beowulf came about. Anyway, the point of that whole ramble was to say I'm very excited about Beowulf, but another project we've got coming up and our next big Kickstarter project is a game called A State. Now, A State is a completely different kettle of fish to Beowulf. This is being produced by a different team of creators, and in fact, A State may be a game you've heard of. It was something of a cult hit. Came out of Scotland, coincidentally the same town we're based in, Handiwork Games, Falkirk. A State in the early 2000s, as part of the kind of, there was a bit of an upsurge in UK indies, making these really quite unique and successful indie games, A State being one of them. It was created by Malcolm Craig and Paul Bourne. And Paul Bourne works with us now at Handiwork Games. He's a graphic designer and layout artist. And we got together at Tabletop Scotland with Gregor Hutton, who's a big friend of the company. We've known Gregor for years. And Gregor worked on the original A State with Malcolm and Paul. And he suggested the idea of bringing this thing back. Now, there's a bit of a story here in that Malcolm had some bad experiences in role-playing games. As we all know, some of us as gamers are quite intense in our love for particular games, and Malcolm felt a bit pursued by some of the fans, and he had a bit of a hard time with it, and he decided to kind of move on, leave gaming behind. He had written another couple of games, Cold City and Hot War, which were both fantastic games. They came after A State, but he just got a bit fed up with it all, moved on, decided he wasn't going to work in games anymore. So to bring A State back was a huge challenge, because really it needed Malcolm to agree to it. And I don't think it was something he had plans to do. But somehow, with Paul being on board, Gregor being on board, and perhaps if to be completely immodest, with us handling it as a company, I think Malcolm trusts us. He let us do it. So we have a license to publish a new edition of A State. Now, subsequent to that, Malcolm kind of dug back into his notes. He was originally going to be kind of consulting on the project, polishing it up for 2021. But he's really got into it, and he's written loads of stuff for it. And the new iteration of the setting is really straight from Malcolm, which is incredible. We're so grateful to have him on the project. We thought we were going to do a bit of a polish, because, a game that's getting on for 20 years old is going to need a bit of an update for 2021. But he's really revisited it, and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm totally got ahead of myself. Maybe I'll edit this into a different order. It might make sense. What is A-State? So, A-State is based on perhaps 100 years of dystopian science fiction. It is a sort of alternate future setting. It's set in a vast, seemingly unending city called The City. There is nowhere outside of the city. It has a real mix of different kinds of technology. Most people live in a kind of Dickensian squalor of these sort of crumbling tower blocks, and almost like Victorian slums. However, the wealthy and those that work for the big trusts that run everything in the city, these huge concerns like corporations or companies, they live in a completely different world. They enjoy a much more pampered, high technology existence. Now, we are using, for the new version of A-State, we are using the Forged in the Dark rules, which powers Blades in the Dark and Band of Blades and a whole other host of really cool games. And it's a really beautiful fit for A-State. Now, there's also been tons of work done on the system. We've got Morgan Davey, who's an absolutely brilliant RPG designer, working on this, and Morg, along with Gregor, have done some really beautiful work on the Forged in the Dark engine. It's well worth heading over to our website, check out the A-State page, which is there, follow our newsletter and so on, because we'll be talking more about how the rules have changed. Now, just like I was talking about with Beowulf, you can get a free introductory PDF for A-State. The very best way to start to understand the setting is actually download this PDF and have a look. It's got this lovely primer to the setting. I'll run some of the visuals actually. So it's such a visually led setting. This kind of mixture of kind of urban squalor and decay, dystopia stuff. Now, it's quite a heavy setting. It's quite, it verges on depressing. That very British kind of science fiction. But in the game, you take the role of people who are moved to try and improve the lot of themselves and those around them. You have a little bit of the city that you take on as your group of kind of troublemakers, activists, and you're trying to improve things. And all the rules and so on are built around playing people who take a part in improving where they live. Now, there's loads of different ways to do this as part of the book. You may be fighting organised crime. You may be fighting the trusts, who generally have quite a malevolent interest in exploiting these kind of communities, rundown slum communities. You may be pushing literacy. You may be trying to improve conditions for people working in sweatshops. And as you go, you will build up your area and, of course, your corner of the city. And as it improves, you're going to face more and more challenges. There is, as part of the free PDF I mentioned, it's called Nicely Done. It's a bit of a pun with when you read the adventure that comes part of it. I've got that back to front. There's an adventure called Nicely Done as part of the primer. Again, well worth a read. It's curious. It's such a rich, visually led setting that I often struggle to describe it, which I know is no use. And we've been talking a lot about how we can get across this fantastical world, really, that Malcolm and Paul and Gregor and Morg have pulled together for this second edition. It's absolutely brilliant. Really good stuff. I like it because it's hard to describe. It doesn't fit very easily into a single genre, and there are certain genres which we do not use to describe it. If I talk about films like City of Lost Children, Delicatessen, maybe a bit High Rise, 70s science fiction, these kind of things give you a bit of a taste of what it's like. It's really good. Well worth your time, actually. Very It's very intelligently put together. It's kind of a well-read science fiction game. Really good, worth checking out. So yeah, that will be coming to Kickstarter in the next couple of months. We want to get our Beowulf backers looked after and all the books out with them. Obviously, as anyone publishing games will have dealt with recently, Brexit has caused us a few problems, but I think we're all good there now. So yep, we'll get Beowulf books out to people, get them delighted, and then we will be back asking for your support for A-State. I'm really excited about A-State. When I started this bit, you notice I kind of talk quite fast and I get ahead of my own brain. Beowulf has been a sort of labour of love for me quite personally, in that I've directly written a whole big bunch of it and illustrated a whole big bunch of it. A-State, I'm just helping, really. I'm just sort of facilitating it happening, and that's a really enjoyable thing. Really lovely to be in that role of publisher, really, I guess. Whereas I've very much enjoyed being hands-on with Beowulf. Now, other things we do. So we do a whole range of gaming accessories. That's almost where we started, actually, as a company. So we do tons of dice trays. I'm hoping we'll have some new dice tray designs. I need to talk to our friends at All Rolled Up. We do a whole big bunch of different dice trays, really nice things. What else do we do? We do really cool things that we've just got back in stock. Map tiles. These feature my artwork, Paul Bourne's artwork. They are 6-inch square, gridded or ungridded, cardstock. So they're light. They're not like thick board. They're like playing cardstock. So you can carry 100 in your pocket. Tiles that make up dungeon plans, location maps for your games. And they've done really well, but they've been out of stock for a little bit, but we've just managed to restock all of those. We've got some really great bundle deals. They're well worth checking out. So yeah, they're all back. I love doing those. I'm about to embark on doing a whole new set of map tiles. I've had a bit of a rest. We did 2 Kickstarters in the first kind of year of our business, and yeah, they've gone really well, really popular. What else have we got coming up? I think that's probably... We've got a few things we're working on, but I kind of want to keep those under wraps just now. Beowulf and A-State, I think, is probably enough to keep you going. What else do we do? Just in case you don't know anything about our company, we also produce a couple of card games. The Forest Dragon by Rory, age 9, was the very first thing we published. And this was made by my son when he was 9. He's a great big strapping lad of almost 14 now. But when he was 9, he invented a card game. Almost in one breath from the back of the car. This is the legend of the Forest Dragon. He said he wanted to make a card game, and we asked him how it would all work, and he told us. And it just in the first description, it works. Now, we've always played board games, card games in our house, predictably, so he had some good influences. But yeah, quite remarkable, really, really good, and it turned out to be a really popular little game. You can still get it on our website, and we did a follow-up as well called Bang and Twang, which is just like bonkers. It's all about musicians, and you match cards and try and keep up with this ever-changing tune. And they're great stuff. Really good fun, actually. And we must revisit the Forest Dragon. We have 2 additional games for the Forest Dragon line that were created quite soon after Forest Dragon and Bang and Twang, but we've been really busy. Well, I've been really busy setting up Handiwork Games, getting that all running. But we have, the Forest Dragon Farmer and the Pie Man's Apprentice are kind of in the bag. We really need to get our socks on and get these games printed and out with people. So that's something to look out for coming up. I'm not exactly sure when you'll see those, but they certainly exist as games, and I'm looking forward to bringing them to you so you can enjoy some more Forest Dragon madness. It's brilliant, the Forest Dragon. It's absolutely nuts. Cool. I think that's probably enough about us and what we're up to in 2021.